One of my management guru, I don't know if you heard of him, he's no longer alive, Peter Drucker. I admired this person. I read many books about him. And he uses a quote that I used in one of my books, even on the main page. In our knowledge economy, if you haven't learned how to learn, you'll have a hard time. So over the years in Netcom, we always talk about the importance of learning, why we should learn, why learning is important. You all understand that learning is the way that you can transform your life. Learning is a way you can develop yourself. But what we'll talk about today, not about the importance of learning, what we'll talk about today, how you can learn. So I will provide you a framework for that. One of the quote I used, statement by Malcolm Gladwell, and I said it many times. What he says is that most people are knowledge rich, but theory poor. I'm not sure if I agree with that statement, but I want to provide a theory, a framework for you how to learn so you can apply that same theory in your personal life. You can apply the same theory when you're talking to a client. You can apply the same theory when you're trying to teach somebody how to learn. Before I go and cover the framework, I want to tell you a story. This is a story about how Richard got rich. Richard is a friend of mine. I know him for now almost 10 years. So when I first met Richard, I was living in Forest Hills, Queens. Richard was living in an apartment, and his apartment was completely messy. He was sharing the room with one of his friends. And then a few years later, I met the same Richard in Forest Hills again, and I saw that he bought a 2-bedroom apartment in a really, really nice building. Now last year, and what I found out that he moved in Long Island and built a multi-million-dollar house in Long Island. And this is how he did it. Initially, Richard's background is he has a degree in finance. Eventually, he realized that he's not passionate about finance. He want to learn about IT. So first he went in and learned about A+, then learned about Network+. So once he gathered entry-level skills, he realized that he can go and work in the job market, and he applied for a job and eventually ended up getting a job in a financial company downtown in Manhattan. Now once he got the job there, his company decided to pay to update his skills. And this is a real story. His company sent him to take a class to become Microsoft Certified System Engineer. Since I knew him, I love selling, so I sold him our MCSE bootcamp class. As he developed his skills, initially he got a job as a networking administrator, and by getting and learning about MCSE, he became a networking engineer within the organization, so he moved up within the organization and started to make money. Now Richard company wants him to develop more skills, and he also wants to move up within his own organization, so he went in and he learned about Exchange. He actually took an Exchange class with Daryl Vicker in Netcom Learning. He also realized that his company is using SharePoint, so he chose to take SharePoint classes. He went in and he wanted to learn about security. He became security expert. But the key point over here is that he developed his skills. He went from entry-level networking person to became a network administrator. Then he became a network engineer. Now he is a security expert. He's an Exchange expert. He knows SharePoint. So last time when I saw him, I asked Richard, what's next? What are you trying to learn? So what he's doing is he's looking into what's hot in the industry. Cloud computing is hot. Mobile is hot. He wants to learn about those. He also realized that he no longer wants to become a network engineer. He no longer wants to become security expert. He found out that if you at some point can become the CIO of that financial company, a lot of money he can make. So his goal is to become a CIO. So he realized in order to get into management and leadership, he needs to have project management skills. He needs to develop his soft skills. If you really look at Richard's story and start analyzing the story from a learning point of view, Richard actually applied a learning framework. He probably didn't even know he applied that framework. So I want to take Richard's story, breaking it down into learning framework so you can apply the templated framework in your personal life and you can talk about that framework with your clients. And most importantly, I want to make sure all of us are using exactly the same term. Different company uses different term, but we want to make sure we are using exactly the same term. So Richard applied a 5-step framework, a learning plan. His step 1, he wanted to build a learning goal. And his learning goal initially was to become an entry-level networking person. Then his learning goal changed. I want to become a networking engineer. His learning goals changed. I want to become a networking expert. Now he wants to become CIO of the organization. I want to share a quote by Napoleon Hill. He said that a goal is a dream with deadline. Step 2 he followed. Once he realized what he wants to become, what his learning goal is, he wants to find out what skills, knowledge, and capability do I need to develop. So once he realized that in order to become a networking expert, I need to learn about fundamental of networking. I need to know about client operating system. I need to know about service operating system. I need to know about the connectivity, Cisco. I need to know about security, virtualization, cloud, messaging, collaboration. Now he wants to learn soft skills. Richard knew what learning domains he needs to build. Third thing Richard did, he realized, okay, I am here and I want to go here. But he can go from here to there by applying, go through different paths. So he applied different types of learning method. When he initially took class in Netcom, he went through physical classes. Now he's taking live online classes. If you open up his computer, you're going to find out he has a lot of digital books. He's learning on his own. He's probably going to YouTube, learning new technologies. Richard also learning by doing what he has learned, by learning from the teammates, and I'm sure his managers is coaching him and mentoring him. Richard has different type of learning method he's applying in order to make him effective. Different people learn differently. Some people learn better by taking classroom training physically. Some might learn better by taking classroom training live. Some people might want to have combination of all. Some people learn from their workmate better, but he is applying different type of learning method. Richard, at one point when he took MCSE, we provided him a bootcamp learning solution, because his company wanted him to go through MCSE certification, and his company wanted him to demonstrate that he has the necessary skills to do the job. That's why they had sent him to the bootcamp program. So right now, if you look at there, that they are taking 9 to 5 classes. When it comes to Exchange, he took 9 to 5 classes in Netcom. When it came to MCSE, he took bootcamp training. His company also sending them for private classes. Sometimes some of the classes, I'm sure they have it on accelerated format. So Richard got different type of learning solution from us and from other companies. And what Richard is also doing is that they're measuring their training result. They're going back on an ongoing basis, looking at what I have taken in the class. Have I learned? Just taking a class doesn't mean you're learning. What I have learned in the class, am I applying in my job? How much impact I'm creating on the company bottom line by taking this class? What is the return on investment? So he's continuously looking at the training he's going through and learning he's doing and evaluating do I need to adjust my learning plan or not based on that. And his company is doing exactly the same thing. So if you look into Richard's story, Richard went through 5-step process. Step 1 is set up a learning goal. Step 2, learning demands. What are the skills, capabilities, and knowledge he needs to develop? Step 3 is learning method. He was taking classroom training live, physically. He's taking virtual training. He's doing self-study. He has mentors. He has coaches. He's also learning on the job. What's the 4th step Richard applied? Was the best learning solution for him. Different time, he had different learning solutions. So he went through bootcamp type classes, he went through regular classes, his company is sending people for private classes. And what Richard is also doing is continuously looking at his existing learning goals, learning domains, learning method to see how he can make it better through the evaluation process. So he's consistently, by looking at evaluating, he's broadening his learning domain, because now that he wants to become a CIO, he needs to develop his leadership skills. I want to end the presentation with a quote written by Zig Ziglar. I love this guy. Zig Ziglar once said, "You need a plan to build a house. To build a life, it is even more important to have a plan." If we want to learn as a person, if we want to grow, if we want to become successful, we need to become a passionate lifelong learner. But we can't just talk about becoming a lifelong learner. We need to have a learning plan. In order to have a learning plan, we need to follow the 5-step process. Have a learning goal. What's the second thing? Have the learning domain. What is skills, capability, and knowledge you need to develop? What's the third thing? You need to have learning method. You need to apply different types of learning method. What's the fourth thing you need to have? Make sure that you have some learning solution. Different people learn differently. And most importantly, you need to evaluate what you have learned and consistently update your learning plan. Thank you.